I'm a survivor of intimate partner violence. Well, that's what I call it when I'm sharing about my mental health at first. But my plan here today is to provide more details and speak specifically about my own experience in order to give you a realistic understanding of what that looked like for me. And while my story is unique to me, my hope is that you're able to think critically about your own life and your own relationships, as well as those around you. It's important to me that I use trauma-aware language and honor boundaries, and I want to take care of you as a listener, so I'm offering a trigger warning for the upcoming content. These topics will include sexual assault, rape, and suicide. So please gently step away if you need to, and try to let someone know where you might be, and that can give them an opportunity to give you some peer support later on. Thank you. And please know that you are deserving of taking the space you need at any time. The CDC describes intimate partner violence as physical, sexual, or psychological abuse from a partner. In my case, I experienced a range of things from what seemingly was harmless at first, such as jealousy and suspicion directed at me, to actual criminal acts like assault and rape. You know, the most haunting part of my story continues to be trying to make sense out of how I ended up in such a dangerous relationship. I had an idyllic childhood, totally trauma-free. I had healthy relationships role modeled to me, and I had a strong moral compass. Unfortunately, the why of things is very complex. In fact, the CDC also states that over 10 million people experience IPV each year. That's a lot of people. But when I was in an abusive relationship as a teenager, I felt like the only one. High school is already hard enough as it is to navigate, and adding trauma only made it more difficult to fit in and get through it because I was trying to hide such a big secret. So much of my time was spent at the school, so the social element really did play a big part. After initially charming me, gaining my trust, my abuser began to isolate me by controlling my social interactions. He was criticizing me for trying to make friends and even made fun of me in front of others. It was bullying. And because he was so charismatic and well-liked, nobody saw past his jokes or saw just how chaotic our relationship became. He began simply saying I was psycho when someone asked why I was crying. People, including teachers, chalked it all up to the roller coaster of teen love. In truth, he was trying to humiliate me so that I felt too worthless to speak up. He would continually wear me down until I actually believed I was being too sensitive. And this is textbook grooming, so that later I wouldn't try to get help when he started physically and sexually abusing me. So with gaslighting in full effect, things escalated into him hurting me more intentionally. He'd physically put me in situations where I couldn't get away, like in a dark theater, or locking us into a bathroom stall, trapping me in a car. And he would do things to cause me pain on parts of my body where no one would be able to see it. Often this type of behavior was used to coerce me into having sex, and other times he just used force. It was like this until the spring of my senior year. His threats became really serious, and I started to fear for my life. The moment of clarity I did have was after he had pushed me down a flight of stairs, and the shock of it snapped me out of a haze I'd been in. I mean, this was a seriously scary situation. And looking back, I see just how dissociated I was. I didn't have the language to understand what was happening to me. I knew it was wrong, But the lack of external support and all of the missed intervention opportunities by authority figures was enough to make me believe that, yeah, I was actually on my own. And on top of that, the brain responds to trauma by going into fight or flight mode. And the safest choice that I could make was to be in flight, which meant numbing out my mind and body. And by the time I lost my virginity to rape, I felt helpless. And the only energy I had left was going to damage control. The depression and anxiety from manipulation, sexual trauma, physical abuse, stalking, and death threats ultimately made me suicidal. Here's the thing, I knew I didn't want to actually die, but I just couldn't stand living like this for one more day. I was exhausted from it all, and it didn't seem like there could possibly be a way out. And at one point, I felt so beyond hope that I tried jumping out of a car on the highway. So my life was in danger from both a perpetrator and my own hopelessness. I'm grateful to say that after spending a few weeks at an adolescent psychiatric hospital, I had made the decision to not take my own life, but to finally tell someone what had been going on. I am so glad that I chose to trust my parents with this incredibly awful secret. They immediately came to my aid, and they loved me unconditionally. And honestly, their response saved my life. As a result of intimate partner violence, I now live with CPTSD, which stands for Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. But that's just a diagnosis that helps me support my mental wellness. It doesn't define me. I'm a creative professional, a cat lover, a mental health advocate, a martial artist, and a home baker. And all of these things are actually part of a lifestyle that's been designed to help me manage CPTSD. Some days are harder than others. And what happened to me will never go away. But I'm glad to be living in recovery. And I believe that anybody can be too, no matter how impossible it feels. And I know that it might be feeling impossible right now. But at any stage of your mental health, there is always a way to thrive. This means for you, as well as being able to help others get there. Professional help, peer support communities, and even your own self-care can help you heal. And here at No Stigmas, we believe everybody has the right to take care of their mental health. And I couldn't be more proud to be standing here, sharing my story, and a little message of hope with you today. Thank you for listening, and please, please, please remember, you are not alone.